it's really clear that there's an agenda. I mean, especially if you watched our last video on the World Economic Forum, or really any of the videos we've put up for the last decade. And the only way they're going to get that agenda accomplished is to have one catastrophe after another just piled on again and again and again and again until they can problem, reaction, solution, justify themselves getting there.
Or even the appearance of catastrophe after catastrophe, because it's really all about fear. It boils down to keeping people anxious and fearful to do anything. I mean, you know what these last couple of years have been like. And basically, this has prevented almost any problems from being solved in the past several decades. Problems like not letting a huge concentration of power, energy, and money fall into the centralized government and into big tech and to big agri, big pharma, big corporations, Wall Street, et cetera, et cetera. Really, we've, as a society, been scoring incredibly low on that scale and really haven't slowed hardly any of that down. And one of the reasons, one of the factors leading to that is that we have been perpetually distracted by fear after fear, crisis after crisis. And it's as if very few people could see through it, especially those who are gravitating towards the mainstream.
And fear is the mind killer, and they know it. And if you keep everyone in fear, then you'll keep everyone ready to do whatever it is that they tell you you got to do because you're afraid. And it's amazing how obvious the psychological manipulation is now. And what's become extremely clear, if you can step away from the left-right paradigm enough to get a perspective outside of it, is they know that there's probably like a good five main top issues, I would say, for each group. And they just keep recycling one after the other to pit, not only to pit the two sides against each other, fighting with each other amongst themselves about whatever that is, but it's almost like a wheel on a crank or like a Price is Right game. They just keep spinning the wheel and go to the next one, and then they go to the other side and make them really freaked out and upset about something, and then the other side goes, hey, you guys are jerks for getting upset about that. Then they turn the wheel another crank and it's all flipped, the dynamic is flipped, and the other side says, I can't believe you're upset about that. You know, it's crazy how formulaic it is, how obvious it's become. And I don't know, I don't understand why people who are trapped in that can't see it at this point.
Laboratory and this test kitchen are indeed revolutionary. Keep your eye on the chocolate cupcake. It rises faster than you can eat it.
It's as obvious as it's become.
It's because the fear is paralyzing. That's why fear is the mind killer. It prevents anyone from doing anything productive, the things we can do individually, the things we can do in groups. We're never going to all agree with each other across the aisle and in our different camps, but that's not even the point. The point is they have most people totally gripped with fear and paralyzed from doing anything useful except handing over their power and agency.
I'm getting angry about it, yeah. So a while back, one of our listeners sent in a picture of, I guess, these stand-ups they've started putting up in the malls around the Northeast. This one is supposedly up in New Jersey. And it's a giant stand-up in the mall that just says, radiation emergencies, what should I do? With no context, just radiation emergencies, like, oh, hey, there might be one of those. What should you do?
What should I do about something I can't see or control?
Right. And didn't know to expect was coming at any second the way they're making it seem, right? And all of a sudden now they're going to start warning about it. I mean, okay, it was bad enough. It was bad enough when they had those videos from the 50s and 60s. We've had to watch all of those throughout our research, and I've used clips of them in previous videos, mostly as a joke because they're really pretty silly, and they haven't aged all that well. You know, back when they had Werner von Braun take time off from inspiring Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove to go do PSAs on what you can do to protect yourself from nuclear fallout.
While we work at the same time to alleviate the dangers that beset the world.
We need food and water to survive.
Or they had that video of the lady washing her vegetable. Just wash it off. Radiation on your vegetables, not a big deal. Just wash it off.
But if fallout settles on your food, The food itself isn't harmed or made radioactive, since radiation only damages living tissue. You simply remove the fallout particles using everyday methods of food preparation.
You know, just put in the sink, dump some water on that, it's fine. Then eat it. or
There's a whole genre of films in the 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean,
Hit the dirt, like men did in World War II. Don't get curious and look around. Its light can blind you temporarily. You all with me? Fine. Now we're about as ready as we can be for the fireworks. Bombs away. Just one.
just get under the desk. I talked to my mom yesterday, by the way, and I asked her, you know, even as a small child, did you realize when you were ducking and covering how ridiculous that is?
First, you duck, and then you cover.
And she's like, oh yeah, we all knew. I mean, come on, like just get under the desk and put your head between your legs. Just look at your own people.
He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you. Duck and cover.
I don't know.
To me, yeah, I mean,
I'm
that
not-
kind of thing to me is like the Betty Crocker, like they made you add an egg even though they could have just made the mix
Could have
ready
just made
to
the
go.
mix, right? It
'Cause
makes
they
you
wanted
feel like you
people to
did
feel
something.
like they did something.
It makes you feel like you're going to protect yourself because they can't just tell you you're screwed. They can't just say, look, the biggest problem that we have is actually not, you know, millions of people possibly dying in an instant. The biggest problem we have is panic and people freaking out, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to give you something that's going to make you feel like this is going to be okay somehow.
They want you to worry about it and have anxiety about
course.
it, even if you're totally screwed.
Well, because then you'll be much more likely to say, yes, let's spend $800 billion on a military budget. Let's just dump hundreds of our own taxpayer dollars into contractor pockets to protect us from the big scary. And it's a number of things, and they recycle those too. But so after all of these years of not having that, and I knew this was coming.
Why are we getting warned about how to stay safe from a nuclear attack right now? Like, what?
As soon as Ukraine became a thing, I knew this was probably coming next. I just didn't expect it this quickly. But a few weeks ago, New York City put out a video about what to do if you're in New York City and there's a nuclear attack. Oh, it's an AI-generated New York City.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why, just know that the big one has hit.
Yeah, don't ask her how or why, okay? Let's not think about what is leading
Don't
up
ask
to
why.
Don't ask why the geopolitical
Try,
powers
bud,
at play
try.
are basically playing a game of fancy lottery with everyone's lives all the time that we even got to this point. Don't ask her any of those questions. Just know it's the big one.
Don't ask why or who or what secret motives were behind it.
Okay, so what do? There are 3 important steps that I want you to remember. Step 1, get inside fast.
Get inside. Step 1, get inside fast. Oh, you know, a nuke just went off. I was gonna go run like 10 errands, mail something, tra-la-la through the park there, sniff the flowers underneath the burgeoning mushroom cloud of doom on the horizon. It's fine. Get inside fast, really?
I'd have to fight the urge to get a camera. I mean, I don't know.
No, get inside fast. Don't get inside slow. Okay, don't get inside at a regular pace. Get inside fast.
You, your friends, your family, get inside. And no, staying in the car is not an option. You need to get into a building and move away from the windows.
Get into
She
a
seems
building.
like really happy about
She
this.
seems thrilled. Maybe this is the first job she's had in a while. I don't know. Maybe that's not even a person. I mean, that whole background is CGI or some kind of something. This is green screen at the very least. So now she's inside. I guess she got there a lot faster than everyone else, and she can just transition in.
Step 2, stay inside. Shut all doors and windows.
Step 2, stay inside and shut all the doors and windows. She just told you to get away from the windows. Now she's telling you to go back to the windows to shut them.
Also, that's a $1 million apartment.
No, she looks tiny compared to that giant couch. Yeah, there are people in New York that live in 80 square foot apartments. Their entire house is a window. It's one whole wall of the 80 square foot closet they live in New York.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who live in New York, a lot of our listeners live in New York, and people always say great things about it. But not being from there, I've never understood how that place is livable. Whatever.
Isn't it like you can only get into and out of New York through a series of bridges and or tunnels?
That is correct.
Is there- I
it's a
mean-
really interesting place to visit, but I mean, I don't know.
Notice they don't say get the hell out of there. They say go inside and stay there.
I mean, this has a very low likelihood of happening, but if you're concerned about a nuke being dropped in New York, the best thing to do is move.
Have a basement? Head there. If you don't have one, get as far into the middle of the building as possible. If you were outside after the blast, get clean immediately. Remove and bag all outer clothing to keep radioactive dust or ash away from your body.
So go to the middle of the building, but also get clean. So I guess you have to hope there's a shower or some kind of water source that you can bathe in the middle of the building, since you probably, the guy in the 80 square foot apartment doesn't have a bathroom. So I guess you just have to hope. And by the way, soap or shampoo, just pick one now. New Captains, you can't have both.
They're assuming that the water's not disrupted.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Step 3, stay tuned. Follow media.
Yeah, very important. Just stay tuned to the media. Don't use your last moments on Earth to call loved ones, if the phones even work, if the electronics work. Make sure to watch more of that mainstream media.
What?
Now that you're
Spinning that fear and
horrified that the
propaganda.
worst has occurred, definitely lock yourself in a room with nothing but the television set.
Let's go out with the voice of Anderson Cooper, or I don't know, whoever else it is.
What?